Hello, everyone, and welcome to Write Something Weird, your favorite literary show where we talk about creating cool art and building bookish communities. I'm Sophie Stern, a paranormal romance author in Kansas City. I'm here today with my wonderful guest, Jessica Hollins. Hi, Jessica.
Hi. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here. I'm very excited to have you on the show. We met at a book event.
We sure did.
So there are so many cool, wonderful book events in Kansas City. I think it's a really great way to not only meet authors, but also to meet readers and just other people in the book community. What do you love about book events?
Oh man, I just love the community. The book event that we met at, I think that was my first one. And I was solo. I didn't have a PA or anything. So I was, kind of like, ooh, this is a lot because there was so many, authors and so many people and I was like, ooh, I don't know, but it was great. It was fun. Everybody was great. You make connections.
Yeah.
Um I met you. I met a couple other authors that I'm close with now. I met some readers that had saw me at when I had did Flirty, which was the first event that I had did. So, it was great. It was fun to get out, and especially for somebody who's, kind of a small town, like don't get out and do much. It was really nice to be able to get out and experience that.
I like the way you describe it. It really, to me, like book events do really feel like that nurturing community. And like you said, like I know that for me in my daily life, I don't come across a lot of readers or authors. Like
Right.
you don't go to the grocery store and you're like, that person reads. But at book events, I feel like you really have that opportunity. But like you mentioned too, it can be a little nerve-wracking for authors, especially if we're used to kind of writing in solitude. So what would you say to an author who wants to go to a book event but who feels nervous about it?
Do it. Just do it. Prepare. Talk to other, authors in the community. Everybody has their own experience. Everybody has their own method that they do to prepare. And I'll tell you what, Meg Becker, she's my girl. I was blowing all the time. What do I need to do? What should I have? What should I take? How many books do I need to take? Like blowing her up, and that's one great thing about the writing community is we're all here to support each other. So if you're a new author and you want to do events or you don't know how, reach out, find some local authors. We're not gatekeeping. We'll share, we'll give tips, tricks, and just do it. Like just go.
I really love that. I like that you said that we're not gatekeeping because I feel like that really is an important part of like not only the independent author community, but like the Kansas City author community. I feel like in general, we're like, no, come in. There's room for all of us here.
Remember when I first, before I started publishing, and I was like reaching out to a couple of people who I thought were, great authors. And I was like, hey, so like, I've heard you self-published. I'm, trying to go down that path. What what do I do? Do you have any tips or tricks? And the thing that they said to me was Google it. And I was a little put off by that.
Mm,
So it kind of delayed my publishing a little bit because I was just like,
okay.
well, I can Google it, but I don't really know what all that means. Um, so I kind of waited for a while, and then I started getting put in place with other writers and authors who did not just tell me to Google it, and they were sharing abundance amount of information. And I was like, this is where I want to be, and this is the type of writer that I want to be. And so whenever
Yeah.
people message me or see me anywhere and want to talk about writing or any tips or tricks, I share it all.
Yeah. I really like that you said that. I'm sorry that you had that experience of people being like, good luck. I feel like that can be really frustrating because when you're so new to an experience, you literally don't know what you're Googling. Like, where do you start? What's step number one? So having someone like Meg Becker is great. I feel like we just don't deserve her. She's wonderful. But having someone like her in your corner who can just be like, oh, start with this. Like, here's step number one can be really helpful.
It really does. It makes the world of difference. And even if, our steps aren't the same, just having something to go off of, something to kind of base what you should do, you know,
Mhm.
ideas or whatever, it just really kind of helps make it less overwhelming.
Yeah. I agree. And I feel like for book events, like they can be so overwhelming. And the first book event I ever went to as a reader was Kinky in Kansas City. I went their final year. I bought a VIP pass for myself. And so I showed up. I had no friends. I just went alone. And one author I wanted to see Misha Stone. I went to her table. I was like, please sign my book. And then I was like, well, what do I do now? Like, I had no idea that I could just go talk to the authors and ask questions. I didn't know I could just walk up to anybody and make friends. And so having other people who are like, here's what you do, it can be
Yeah,
really helpful.
yeah, it's great. That's the best.
Yeah, I agree. And speaking of the best, you're the best. You have done something incredible. You wrote a book, many books, even. You have a couple of stories out that are just really wonderful. And it's so cool that you did that. Like, writing a book is so hard. And my question is, what was the most surprising thing about writing a book? What surprised you?
Um, Actually having people read it.
Okay.
Um, it was just like, oh yeah, I wrote a book. Like I loved writing. Growing up, I didn't have, a lot of support. I wasn't, people were like, oh, you're gonna write, but will you actually
Yeah.
publish? Because people don't believe you. And
Mhm.
so when I did it, and like when I published my first book, Try Me Not, the amount of people that shared my book, bought my book, sent pictures. I was so like overjoyed. I was like, me? You guys are reading my book? You're telling people about my
Yes.
book? I had like a high school teacher reaching out to me telling me like, oh, some of my kids now are reading your book, and I got to tell them
What?
that you were my student, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm small town famous. But
Yeah.
no, it was just the people reading, because when you're a writer, we all struggle with that imposter syndrome. Like, are we a real writer? Like,
Yeah.
we're not, like Stephen King, we're not like great,
What? Yeah.
so like, are people actually going to read my book? Are they actually going to enjoy my book?
Yeah.
And then to, have people not buy just one, but buy my others, or, hey, I've read this book. Is there any more coming out? Like those are just like, oh my gosh, I'm actually doing this.
I love that. And it really is a fun question when people are like, when's the next book coming out? And to know that people not only genuinely enjoyed your story, but that they want you to produce more and that they want you to write more for them. And I think for me, that was a really surprising feeling.
It is.
Yeah, I'm not sure what I really expected. It's funny when you said people actually reading your story. I think a lot of times for writers, we just need to get it out. And
Mhm.
we're like, I just have to get this story out. I have to get it out. And being like, oh, someone's actually going to read it now, it can be kind of a surprising feeling.
Yeah, it is. Because you're like, I mean, it sounds good in my head, but does it translate well when it comes out on paper? Are you
Yeah.
guys feeling the same way that I'm feeling? So there's like
Yeah.
so much that comes into it when writing and publishing, and making sure you have a good editor and cover design. There's just so much anxiety that comes with it, that when you hear people like, oh, I read your book, or oh, I just bought your book, and you're like, wait, me? My book? Just
Yeah.
knocks your socks off.
It's really, it's so rewarding. And that's like the overall author experience, right? Like we get to have fun while we're writing, and then we get like this continued pleasure from knowing we did something cool and other people are enjoying it and we get to do it again. Um, but speaking of getting to do it again, you have two books out in the Try Me series. Is that right? Two?
Yes, I do.
Okay, what was the most rewarding thing about writing those?
Seeing them complete, well,
Okay.
kind of. Like I get when I first started writing Try Me Not, I didn't, that was just it. That was the only thing. I mean, I had other ideas, but I didn't have any like series ideas.
Okay.
And so now, years later, I have a complete series. It's not completely written and finalized or anything, but it's all like planned out. So it's going to end up being a 5 book series instead of just the two. Um, so I'm like really going in with my editor on the third book, and starting that process of editing and formatting and cover and all that. Um, but just seeing it like from this little bitty baby book into like a 5 book series, I was not expecting that. Um,
No.
and it's seen a cover lift and a name change because I wrote it before I was married, and
Okay.
then I've switched it over, so it's got a cover update and a facelift, and it's just growing.
I love that. And I love that when you write a book, for me, ending a book is the hardest part. But I love that when you end it, you can always go, wait, I'm the author. I can actually add more if I want to.
Right.
It's kind of a
Yes.
powerful feeling.
Yeah, and it's like because I'm just like, okay, I'm done. And then I've had, some readers be like, well, what happens with this person? Or, well, what about this? And I'm like,
Hmm.
So then
I
it
don't
gets
know.
me thinking, and I'm like, I
Yeah.
haven't thought about it. And then it's like, oh, my character's like, hey, let's do this, add this, say this, let's do this again. And I'm like, okay, let's go with it.
Yeah. And it's so fun. Another thing about being like a local author that's fun is when people do come up to you like again and again at events and they'll ask you those questions. It's so fun because I feel like for me, I'll write a story and I might have like a side character that I honestly don't really care too much about, but readers might really care about.
Hmm.
And they're like, when does, Axel get his story? I'm like, what? I don't know. Interesting question. And then I'm like, oh, wait. Yes, Axel does need a story.
Yes, it's so great, having people be that invested in
Yeah.
something that, we put our blood, sweat, and tears into.
Mm.
It's so like rewarding. And
Yeah.
you're like, oh, you want another story? I got you. Like,
I got you.
got you.
It's funny because it almost feels to me like writing is a labor of love, but it almost feels selfish because I love it so much. I have some conflicting feelings about creativity these days, but
Yes.
I I love that. I love the joy that comes from being a writer.
Hmm. And it's just like anybody can write, but it takes a special person to actually sit down and do it. And just being like, in those moments where I'm just like, am I even a writer? It's been a while since I've published. Life is just lifing. I have
Mhm.
a 3-year-old who's, every bit of like almost a 17-year-old.
Yeah,
So she keeps me busy. I don't, get as much time to write as I used to. So I'll have those moments like, am I really a writer? Like, do
yeah,
people even, consider me a writer anymore? Because it's been years since I published, and then I'll go back in and I'll start reading some of my stuff that I was working on. I'm like, oh, hey, that sounds kind of good. Like, I guess I am still a writer,
you're definitely still a writer. In case there's any doubt lingering after this conversation, you're
Yes.
still a writer. And writing is one of those really cool things where you can do that, right? Like you can set aside your project and it is there waiting for you when you come back. It's not like if you're a baker, like you can't set your cake aside for however long
Right.
it'll mold. But being able to set aside our stories is really nice because when you go back and you have those fresh eyes, that fresh perspective, you're ready to get back into it.
Yes.
So, we talked a little bit about endings, but how do you like to start your stories? Do you start with a character or a plot or an idea?
Mostly an idea. I would get a lot of my ideas driving back home. I'm from Coffeyville, Kansas.
Okay.
So The drive from here to there is just nothing. There's nothing fun to look at. It's boring. Um, and so there'd be like, like an old barn or something, and you'd be like, oh, that's a nice barn. I wonder there's a serial killer around, like things like that. And then it's like, oh, I get an idea. So I have like a notes app on my phone, and I just literally, it's like ever growing. And it was like, write a book about, and then I'll just give my idea. Because in the beginning, I would write a book. I'd start with my idea, start writing it, and then in the middle of that, I'd get another idea. So then
Okay.
I'd go into that idea and I'd start writing everything down. And then I would get so involved in that one that I'd forget about the first book and so on. And so then I had like four books going and none of them completed. And I'm like, okay, Jessica, we got to figure this out.
We got to figure
So
it
I,
out.
I started making myself do one at a time. So I just have an ever-growing list of ideas to get back to. So whenever I have an idea, if I'm currently writing something, I'll just write down whatever I can in that moment.
Yeah.
If it's a name, a plot, an idea, just whatever, write about blah 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 blah, and tell it, and then I put my phone down and I go away. I don't touch it again. And then when I'm done with a series and I'm just like, oh, I need another book, I'll start kind of going through. I'm like, oh, I like this idea, you
Mhm.
know, and then I'll just kind of pick one and go from there.
I love that. And I like what you said about driving to Coffeeville. I actually drove to Coffeeville recently. I went to Oklahoma for a book event, so I know probably the exact drive that you take. And you're right, there is nothing there. And so when I took that drive, I did the same thing, right? Like I was thinking like, what could happen if A, B, C? And so
Yep.
I love just imagine that there's this one barn on the side of the road that every author writes into their stories. It's like the most famous barn, and none of us have
Yeah,
realized it.
that's funny. Yes.
But I love that. I love that idea of making the note about your idea and then just saving it because we don't have to use every idea right away. It's okay to hold on to stuff for a little while or a long time, and it'll be there later.
Yeah, and then I feel too, I've had people like, you have all these ideas, you actually think you're going to write all these books? Maybe, maybe not, but I would rather have the idea than have a good idea at one moment and then not write it down and forget about it later. Because
Yeah.
in a perfect world, I wouldn't have to work. I could just write full time, and then I would
Yeah.
need all these book ideas to
Need
be
your
able to
ideas.
write.
Yeah. I I just love that. I love all the ideas. I love the passion you have for writing. It really shines through when you're talking about like the creative process. And I love this about writers because I feel like in general, most of us do this and we're just so passionate about it. And it's being a writer is really fun. Did you know that? Is that new information? Um, but speaking of being a writer and being busy, we are both very busy. We are both parents and lifing and all sorts of stuff happens all the time to pull us away from writing. So, if you were going to give aspiring authors advice that was not Google it, what advice would you give a writer who is a parent and wants to start writing, but they have no idea where they're going to find that time?
Sometimes, a lot of people are like, oh, you just have to make time. And yes, you do, but also sometimes you can't.
Yeah.
There's just so much on your plate, between work and house and dinner and maybe buying groceries or doing laundry that you
Mhm.
just don't have it in you to fit in that time every day. But started trying to remind myself that I need rest. I can't
Yeah.
be, lifing and then when I have a moment to sit down, just sit down and write because then it's not going to be the best.
Yeah.
So, just kind of like write when you can,
Mm.
write a little bit, even if it's 10-15 minutes, if you have 10-15 minutes at a doctor's appointment,
Yeah.
have have a notebook or an app on your phone and write some stuff down while you're waiting for your friend to show up for a lunch. Do that. Have lunch dates with other writers, you know um, just try to get in as much as you can. And then as life kind of works itself out, you'll be able to add more. And one of my biggest things that I would struggle with is I would be too busy to write, and I would want to write, and I would need to do something creative, and it would weigh on me, and it would kind of make me unhappy because I'm just
Mhm.
like, I want to write and I can't write.
Yeah.
So I started really like honing in on my husband. I'm like, okay, like I want to write for, just 15 minutes.
Mm.
Like, can you, you know, handle dinner or entertain the toddler, while I write. And I didn't used to want to do that because I was like, I'm just writing. Like, I shouldn't have to ask him to help out while I'm writing.
Mm.
But he was like, no, go for it. Take more than
Yeah.
15 minutes. Lock yourself in the bedroom for hours if you want. I don't care. It's great to have that support. So, finding the time when you can and getting yourself a support system.
Yeah.
If your family doesn't support you, there are plenty of other writers who will.
Yeah, no, you're totally right. First off, we love a supportive man. So I think that's really great that he is so much into the idea of you being intentional with your writing time and being like, no, this is important. This is valuable. I need this. Because you're right. A lot of times I think it's easy as writers, because it is such a solitary activity, to be like, oh, it's not that important. I guess I'll just, whatever. So I love that idea of being intentional, planning it if you need to, but also being flexible with how and where you write. Um, I used to spend a lot of time at the park when my kids were little. So, what I like to do is I will write on my phone, like you said, and I just do like a draft in my email. And then that way, when I'm on the computer later, it's easy to like copy and paste into my Word document.
Hmm.
So it doesn't have to be like this big fancy thing, right? You don't have to have like a laptop that you take with you or like this big setup. You can keep it simple or like you mentioned, use a notebook.
Yeah, I used to make sure I had a purse big enough that would hold a notebook or a small enough notebook that would fit inside my purse that I was using. And I'd always have pencils and pens because when I first started writing, I wrote everything down by hand.
Yeah.
And that's probably why I have carpal tunnel, but that's always, always old school, pen and paper, they don't fail you. Electronics, sometimes you have to make sure they're charged, you know,
Yeah.
have have internet access or, whatever. But pen and paper, they're always there.
So do you think that authors or people who want to write tend to overthink when it comes to finding that time?
Almost definitely. I know I did. I mean, when I first started writing, I didn't have kids, so I could definitely do more. It was just me, in my little studio apartment, so wasn't that big, so I didn't have a lot of cleaning to do. I'd work, and then I could stay up late and write because all my friends were asleep, so nobody was bothering me. So I used to write in the middle of the night.
Oh, cool.
Like stay up till like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning writing.
Yeah.
Now can't do that. Too tired. But then I was kind of developed that habit. And then as things started changing, as I started to get older and, more busy, it started to weigh on me because I couldn't write how I wanted, when I wanted.
Yeah.
And having to just kind of stop and just get rid of that idea and just take it as writing when I can changed my perspective and made it a lot more enjoyable instead of just like, ugh, I need to write. But it's like, oh, I get to write today.
Yeah. Well, and I think that urge that I need to write, I think that obsession is what drives us, right? And it's one of the things that makes good writers great writers is this need to be able to do it, to carve out that time, to get to do it. It's also important and I think it comes together to make us the creatives that we are.
It does.
Jessica, this has been wonderful. Thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. And I can't wait to see what you write next.
Awesome. Same for you. Thank you for having me. I was really like, oh, she wants me to come.
I did want you on my show. So thank you for
I
your
loved
time. It
it.
means a lot. And I
Thank
can't wait until
you.
I get to see you at another book event.
Yeah, same.
Bye.
Bye.